All right, welcome. Today we're going to dive deep into the real science of what makes an athlete explosive. We're going to talk about my work and try to answer a big question. Why do some of the strongest athletes in the weight room just fizzle out on the field? The answer, you'll see, isn't about getting stronger. It's about understanding the body's built-in brakes that are holding your athletes back. So let's start with a puzzle that every single coach has seen. You've got the guy with a monster 500-pound squat, a true beast in the weight room. But then, on game day, he gets outplayed by the athlete who only squats 350. So what's going on here? Well, it's not about how much force they can generate, but all about how fast they can generate it. And really, the heart of the matter, it all comes down to time. Think about it. A powerlifter has seconds, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, to produce that absolute maximal force. But an athlete, a sprint, a jump, a throw, most of those movements happen in less than 200 milliseconds. That's a fraction of a second. So the goal totally shifts. It's not about absolute strength anymore. It becomes a battle against the clock at a deep neuromuscular level. Okay, so here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start by talking about why strength isn't the whole story. Then we'll dig into this rate of force problem. After that, the big one, the eccentric phase epiphany. We'll look at the body's own gas and brake system, put it all together in a case study with 2 athletes, and then I'll leave you with 5 key takeaways. Before we really get into the nitty-gritty, let's set some clear goals. It's always important to know exactly what we want to be able to do with this information when we're done. So by the time we're finished here, you're going to be able to clearly tell the difference between just being strong and having a high rate of force development. You'll be able to explain exactly what muscle spindles and Golgi tendon organs do. You'll understand how eccentric training actually makes the body more powerful by messing with the GTO. And finally, you'll be able to take this model and apply it to a real-world example. All right, let's jump into our first big idea, the rate of force problem. This is where you can really see that huge gap between gym strength and real, usable, on-the-field power. Just look at this table. It really paints the picture, doesn't it? A sprinter's foot is on the ground for barely 1/10 of a second. A jump, a shot put, it's all over in less than 2/10 of a second. Now compare that to the fact that it takes most people 0.3 to 0.7 seconds to hit their actual max force. The disconnect is massive. Athletes literally don't have enough time to use all the strength they've built. And this curve, this visualizes the whole problem perfectly. That orange line represents your typical athlete. The very top of that curve, that's their 1-rep max strength. But in a game, they never get there. They live on that steep early part of the curve. So our goal as coaches isn't just about raising the peak of the curve. It's about shifting the entire curve to the left, like you see with the blue line. We want to help them access more of their strength and access it way, way faster. So if the traditional way of training, just focusing on lifting the weight, the concentric phase, is incomplete, what's the missing piece of the puzzle? This question is what led to a pretty big breakthrough, an epiphany really, that's changed how we look at all of this. I'll tell you, back in 2003, I was staring at all this force plate data and it just hit me. For years, decades even, the entire strength community, and I was right there with them, we were obsessed with one thing, moving the bar up as fast as possible, the concentric action. But the data was telling a different story. It was crystal clear. The secret to a more powerful explosion up wasn't in the lift itself. It was in what happened right before it. And to really get this, you have to see every athletic movement as having 3 distinct phases. First is the eccentric phase. That's the lowering part, where the muscle lengthens and soaks up energy like a spring. Then there's a super brief isometric pause. And finally, the concentric phase, where the muscle shortens and releases all that stored energy in an explosion. And here's the critical insight. The quality of that first phase, the eccentric, determines everything about the final phase, the concentric. This V graph from our lab shows it perfectly. See that wide gray V? That's your developing athlete. The left side of that V is the eccentric, the loading phase. Now look at the narrower red V. That's your elite athlete. Their eccentric phase is much, much steeper. They absorb force more rapidly. And basic physics tells us that a faster absorption leads directly to a more explosive, steeper output on the right side. Our entire job as coaches is to turn that gray V into that powerful red V. So how does this actually happen in the body? How do we change that V? Well, that brings us down to the body's internal wiring, the deep neuromuscular machinery. Let's talk about the body's physiological gas and brake pedals. So the total force an athlete produces is really the result of a neuromuscular battle. On one side, you've got the muscle spindles. Think of these as the gas pedal. They sense how fast a muscle is stretching and they scream, "Contract!" to protect it. On the other side, you have the Golgi tendon organs, or GTOs. These are the brake pedal. They sense total tension, and to prevent a tear, they send a signal that says, "Whoa, back off, relax." Now get this, and this is the crucial point. That brake pedal is ridiculously overprotective. In an untrained athlete, the GTO's kill switch is set to go off at a level that's almost 40% below what the muscle and tendon can actually handle. It's like having a governor on a Ferrari that kicks in at 60 miles per hour. It's a safety feature that is severely limiting performance. And that is the secret sauce of triphasic training. By intentionally overloading the eccentric phase, we are essentially teaching the GTO to chill out. We're recalibrating that inhibitory signal, making it less sensitive. And when you ease up on the brakes, it allows the gas pedal, that powerful signal from the muscle spindles, to floor it, resulting in a way more powerful concentric contraction. Okay, that's the theory, but let's see how this actually plays out in the real world. Let's take a look at a case study of two shot putters, we'll call them Ben and Tommy, and see this rate of force development in action. So here's the scenario. Both guys are shot putters. They've got about 0.18 seconds to put force into that shot before they release it. Tommy, he's the gym hero. His max squat is way higher. Ben can't squat as much, but his nervous system is just more efficient. He produces force faster. So who throws farther? Well, the numbers don't lie. In that tiny 0.18-second window, Tommy, our stronger athlete, can only tap into about 61% of his max strength. But Ben, with his superior RFD, can access 78% of his. That is a massive 17 percentage point advantage in usable strength. And that translates directly into a farther throw. Ben wins, not because he's stronger, but because his nervous system is trained to be faster. Okay, before we summarize everything, let's do a quick check-in to make sure this is all sticking. So first, what's the main job of the GTO? Second, why is a powerlifter's goal so different from a sprinter's? And third, what's that simple formula for how much force you actually produce? Go ahead and pause here if you want to think it over. All right, let's lock it in. The GTO is the brake. It senses tension and tells the muscle to back off. The powerlifter is chasing pure force with no clock, while the sprinter is chasing force against the clock. And the force you can actually use is simply the go signal from the stretch reflex minus the stop signal from the GTO. It's the gas minus the brake. I know we've gone through a lot of deep physiology here, so let's boil it all down to the 5 most important, most actionable things that you absolutely have to take away from this. If you only remember 5 things, make it these 5. Number 1, in sports, time is the real enemy, not a lack of strength. Number 2, the secret to unlocking power is hidden in the eccentric phase, how you absorb force. Number 3, your body has an overprotective brake, the GTO, that's holding you back. Number 4, we can train that brake to be less sensitive with specific eccentric work. And finally, number 5, the best athletes absorb force faster, which lets them produce force faster. That right there is the essence of being explosive. So I'll leave you with this challenge. Now you know about this neuromuscular brake pedal that is holding your athletes back. Understanding the why is just step 1. The real art and science comes next. The question for you is, how are you going to redesign your training to teach them how to finally use the gas?